Number 15. This is exercise 6b, number 15. X squared minus x minus 6 is a factor of f of x, which is equal to f of x is equal to 3x squared plus px plus, that should be 3, that's 3x cubed plus px squared plus qx plus 6. X squared minus x minus 6 is a factor of f of x. Find the values of the constants p and q and state the zeros of f of x. If x squared minus x minus 6 is a factor of f of x, that means if we factorize x squared minus x minus 6, the factors of x squared minus x minus 6 will also be factors of f of x. You don't need to write long stories. You shouldn't be writing factorize x squared minus x minus 6 and get it. You don't need to write all of that. Just do the work. You are not teaching the teacher what to do. You are only solving the problem to show them that you know you can solve it. So just go straight to the factorization. You don't need to write any notes. Factorize x squared minus x minus 6. When you do that, what do you have? Minus 6 times x squared. That's minus 6x squared. So what are the factors of minus 6x squared? Whose sum is minus x? Those are minus 3x and plus 2x. So instead of writing minus x, I'll write minus 3x plus 2x. So x squared minus x minus 6 is the same as x squared minus 3x plus 2x minus 6. So, and that simply means x into bracket x minus 3 plus 2 into bracket x minus 3, which is x plus 2 times x minus 3. That means x plus 2 and x minus 3 are the factors of x squared minus x minus 6. And that's true. If you expand this, if you multiply the two of them, you'll get x squared minus x minus 6. So this is the idea. If x squared minus x minus 6 is a factor of the polynomial f of x, that simply means if you divide the polynomial f of x by x squared minus x minus 6, the remainder will be 0. It's just like saying 12 divided by 4. 4 is a factor of 12. So when you divide 12 by 4, there will be no remainder. And that's the same as saying the remainder is 0. The answer will be 3 and the remainder is 0. If there's no remainder, that's the same as saying the remainder is 0. So here, if you divide the polynomial f of x by x squared minus x minus 6, the remainder will also be 0. If this divisor x squared minus x minus 6, if you factorize x squared minus x minus 6, you will get x plus 2. The factors of x squared minus x minus 6 are x plus 2 and x minus 3. That means x plus 2 and x minus 3 are also factors of f of x. It's just like saying 12 is a factor of 24. That simply means all the factors of 12 are also factors of 24. What are the factors of 12? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and the 12 itself. So that means all of these factors are also factors of 24. If 24 is a factor of 48, that simply means all the factors of 48 are also factors of 24. And what are the factors of 20? That means all the factors of 24 are also factors of 48. And what are the factors of 24? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 12, and the 24 itself. All of them will also be factors of 48. So if x squared minus x minus 6 is a factor of f of x, that means all of the factors of x squared minus x minus 6 are also factors of f of x. So that's it. You factorize so that you can get more factors for f of x. And you don't need to write that as a note. Just do it. So now it means if you divide f of x by when f of x is divided by in fact you don't even need to write that. I just know that simply means if f of x is divided by x plus 2, the remainder will be 0 because x plus 2 is a factor of f of x. So that simply means f of minus 2. I'm using the remainder theorem now. If you divide f of x by x plus 2, the remainder will be f of minus 2. So that means f of minus 2 equals 0. And what is f of minus 2? That's 3 times the cube of minus 2 plus p times the square of minus 2 plus q times minus 2 plus 6, and that's equal to 0. The cube of minus 2 is minus 8 times 3, that's minus 24. The square of minus 2 is 4 times p, that's plus 4p. Q times minus 2 is minus 2q, minus 2q plus 6 equals 0. And that simply means 4p minus 2q minus 24 plus 6 is minus 18. And when you take it to the right hand side, it becomes plus 18. Or let me write that step so you don't get confused. And that simply means 4p minus 2q equals 18. If we divide through by 2, that simply means 2p minus q is equal to 9. That's equation 1. If x minus 3 is also a factor of f of x, that simply means f of 3 will be equal to 0. If x minus 3 is a factor of f of x, that means if you divide f of x by x minus 3, the remainder will be 0. And by the remainder theorem, the remainder is the same as f of 3. And what's the formula for f of 3? That means 3 times the cube of 3 plus p times the square of 2 plus q times 3 plus 6 equals 0. Which simply means the cube of 3 is 27 times 3, 81 plus the square of 3 is 9 times p plus 9p plus 3q plus 6 equals 0. And that simply means 9p plus 3q plus 87 equals 0. Let me check how that's correct. 3x cubed plus px squared plus qx plus 6. 3 cube is 27 times 3, 81 plus 9p plus 3q plus 6 equals 0. Okay, that simply means 9p plus 3q equals minus 87. And that simply means if we can divide through by 3, and when we do that, we have 3p plus q equals minus 29. And we can make that equation 2. Now we can solve the two equations simultaneously. Equation 1 is 2p minus q equals 9. And equation 2 is 3p plus q equals minus 29. So let's eliminate q by addition. 2p plus 3q is 5p minus q plus q is 0. 5p equals 9 minus 29 is minus 20. And that means p equals minus 4. And we can put that p in equation 1. Equation 1 is 2p minus q equals 9. So that simply means 2 into bracket minus 4 minus q equals 9. Which means minus 8 minus q equals 9. And that means minus q equals 9 plus 8. Which means minus q equals 17. And that means q equals minus 7. Q equals minus 17. That answers the first part of the question, which says find the values of the constants p and q. Now the second part says state the zeros of f of x. First of all, to state the zeros of f of x, we equate f of x to 0. But first of all, we need to write f of x in full. Now that we know p and q, we can write f of x in full. F of x will now be 3x cubed plus px squared. What is p? P is minus 4. So plus times minus 4 will be minus 4x squared plus qx. Q is also minus 17. Plus times minus is minus. So that's minus 7x plus 6. This is f of x. Now to find the zeros of f of x, equate it to equate f of x to 0. If f of x is 0, that simply means 3x cubed minus 4x squared minus 17x plus 6 equals 0. Now we already know one of the factors of f of x. In fact, we already know two of the factors, and those factors are, let's go back there, x plus 2 and x minus 3. F of x, but we can see that f of x is a polynomial of degree 3. So that means it should have 3 factors. So if it has 3 factors, it would also have 3 zeros. So to find the zeros, we need to find the third factor. So what I'll do is I'll divide f of x by the product of these 2 factors. I won't divide it by just one, because I know that if I multiply the 2 of them, I'll get a bigger factor of f of x, which is x squared minus x minus 6. So that's what I'll do. I'll divide f of x by x squared minus x minus 6. If you divide by x plus 2, you will get a factor that you still need to factorize. So it's better to divide by a larger factor. X squared minus x minus 6 is a bigger factor than x plus 2 and x minus 3, because it's the product of x plus 2 and x minus 3. So, or if you like, divide f of x by x plus 2, you'll get another factor that you need to factorize, and that factorization will give you x minus 3 and something else. So I'm dividing by x squared minus x minus 6 to get the third factor. So let me go to that. Divide the polynomial. In fact, that's what I want to do. Okay, I can just do that. Divide the polynomial 3x cubed minus 4x squared minus 17x plus 6, which is f of x, by x squared minus x minus 6. I'm doing this to get the third factor. I already have 2 factors. So 3x cubed divided by x squared is 3x. When you multiply, you have 3x cubed minus x times 3x, that's minus 3x squared, minus 6 times 3x, that's minus 18x. Now you subtract 3x cubed minus 3x will be 0. Minus 4x squared minus 3x squared, that's minus 4x squared plus 3x squared, which is minus x squared. Minus 17x minus 18x, that's minus 17x plus 18x, which is x. Bring down the next term, which is plus 6, and we go again. Minus x squared divided by x squared, that's minus 1. And when you multiply the whole of this by that minus 1, you already know how to divide polynomials. X squared times minus 1, that's minus x squared. Minus x times minus 1 is plus x, and minus 6 times minus 1 is plus 6. And when you subtract, you see that the whole of this is the same as the whole of this. So when you subtract, you get 0 as the remainder, which shows truly that x squared minus x minus 6 is a factor of 3x cubed minus 4x squared minus 17x plus 6. So that therefore means f of x is equal to x squared minus x minus 6 times 3x minus 1 times 3x minus 1. And I know that x squared minus x minus 6 is the same as x plus 2 times x minus 3. That's what I will get when I factorize x squared minus x minus 6. And this is the third factor, 3x minus 1. So now to get what's it called, I think here I didn't even need to write the f of x here yet. I should get all the factors before writing f of x, but you can just leave it there if you want. You don't have to cancel it. So now I can say, to get the zeros of f of x, factorize f of x completely first, and now equate it to 0. Let f of x be equal to 0. That therefore means x plus 2 times x minus 3 times 3x minus 1 equals 0, which means x plus 2 equals 0, or x minus 3 equals 0, or 3x minus 1 equals 0. And that means therefore that x equals minus 2, or x equals 3, or x equals 1 over 3 are the zeros of f of x. Or you simply say therefore the zeros of f of x are minus 2, 3, and 1 over 3. Those are the zeros of f of x. And that's it, very simply. Let's check 16 quickly. If g of x is the quotient when f of x, which is equal to 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 2x plus 1, is divided by x plus 2. Find the remainder when g of x is divided by x minus 1. They are saying that when you divide the polynomial f of x, which is equal to 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 2x plus 1 by x plus 2, the quotient, which is the result you will get here, is g of x. That means name that quotient g of x. So let's divide to know what the quotient is. 2x cubed divided by x is 2x squared. When you multiply, you have 2x cubed plus 4x squared. When you subtract this minus this is 0. 3x squared minus 4x squared is minus x squared. Bring down the next term, which is minus 2x. Now minus x squared divided by x, that's minus x. When you multiply, you have minus x squared. You are multiplying the whole of this by minus x. Minus x squared plus 2 times minus x is minus 2x. And you subtract again. Minus x squared minus x squared, that's minus x squared plus x squared, which is 0. Minus 2x minus 2x, that will also be 0. Okay, that's 0. So we bring down the next term, which is plus 1. Bring down the next term, which is 1. Now that 1 is going to be the remainder. So that means g of x is equal to 2x squared minus x, and that means the quotient is 2x squared minus x and the remainder is 1. And they already said that quotient is g of x, so g of x is 2x squared minus x. Now if g of x equals x squared, I'm doing number 16. If g of x is the quotient when f of x, which is equal to 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 2x plus 1, is divided by x plus 2, find the remainder when g of x is divided by x minus 1. Now I know what g of x is. What's the remainder when g of x itself is divided by x minus 1? So now when g of x is divided by x minus 1, the remainder is g of 1. G of 1 equals, I can write this, when g of x is divided by x minus 1. They are saying when g of x itself is divided by x minus 1, what's the remainder? The remainder is g of 1. And that's, let me write my x here properly, which is 2 times the square of 1 minus 1, and that's 2 minus 1, which is 1. The remainder is also 1. When you divide f of x, the polynomial, when you divide the polynomial f of x by x plus 2, the remainder is, the quotient is 2x squared minus x, which is g of x, and the remainder is 1. And coincidentally, when you also divide g of x by x minus 1, the remainder is also 1. So that's it. That answers the question. And now to number 17. If g of x, which is equal to x squared plus 3x plus 2, is a quotient and 3 the remainder, when a polynomial function f of x is divided by x minus 2, find the remainder when f of x is divided by x minus 3. That means when you divide f of x, when you divide f of x by g, when you divide f of x by x minus 2, when you divide f of x by x minus 2, f of x divided by x minus 2 will give us a quotient, which is g of x, and a remainder. When you divide f of x by x minus 2, quotient is g of x, and that g of x is x squared plus 3x plus 2, and the remainder is 3, and the remainder is 3. Now what's the question? Find the remainder when f of x is divided by x minus 3. What's the remainder when f of x is divided by x minus 3? First of all, I need to know f of x itself. If you divide 12 by 5, the result will be 2, and the remainder will also be 2. So to get this 12, we have to say divisor, which is 5, times quotient, which is 2, plus the remainder, which is 2. That's how you get the 12. Or if I say when you divide 13 by 5, the result will be 2, and the remainder will be 3. If you want to obtain this 13 back, or obtain the 13, it is the divisor. This 13, by the way, is called the dividend, while this 5 is called the divisor. This 2 is a quotient, and this 3 is a remainder. So to get the dividend, you multiply the divisor 5 by the quotient 2 and add the remainder 3 to the answer. So that means we can bring that here. If you divide f of x by x minus 2, and the quotient is g of x, while the remainder is 3, that means f of x itself is what you get when you multiply the quotient g of x by the divisor x minus 2 and add the remainder to that result. The remainder is 3. So that means quotient, let me write it this way, f of x is quotient times divisor plus remainder. Quotient times divisor plus remainder. That's it. So here, let's go back. What is f? What is the quotient? The quotient is g of x times, what is the divisor? The divisor is x minus 2 plus, maybe I should even write that simple, f of x equals quotient times divisor. This is just for you to remember. You don't need to write that when you are solving the question. Times divisor plus times divisor plus remainder plus remainder. And make sure I'm writing that well. Plus remainder. Quotient times divisor plus remainder. And that will be, the quotient is g of x times the divisor is x minus 2, and the remainder is 3. That's how to obtain f of x in full. Now, and that means, what is that g of x? G of x is x squared plus 3x plus 2, x squared plus 3x plus 2, and divisor is x minus 2, and then I'm going to add 3 to the product of that. So let's go. If we expand x squared, I'm going to get x cubed minus 2x squared minus 3x squared minus 6x plus 2x minus 4 plus 3, and that will be x cubed minus 5x squared minus 6x plus 2x is minus 4x, minus 4x, minus 4 plus 3 is minus 1, minus 1. So that is the original form of f of x. Now they said we should find the remainder when f of x is divided by x minus 3. Find the remainder when f of x is divided by x minus 3. If you divide f of x by x minus 3, the remainder is f of 3. So let me write this. When f of x is divided by x minus 3, the remainder is f of 3, which is equal to 3 cubed minus 5 multiplied by the square of 3 minus 4 times 3 minus 1, and that's the same as 27. The square of 3 is 9 times minus 5, that's minus 45, minus 12 minus 1, and that's 27 minus 45, that's minus 18. I hope that's correct. Minus 18. Yeah, that's minus 18. Minus 18 minus 12 is minus 30. Minus 30 minus 1 is minus 31, and that's the remainder. If you use a log division method to find the remainder, you should get the same thing. You get the same thing. If you divide f of x by x minus 3 using the log division method, you get the same remainder, minus 31. And what's the next one? I think there's a last one, which is 18. 18, when f of x, which is equal to x cubed minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 6, is divided by ax plus b, the quotient is x squared minus x minus 6, and the function leaves no remainder. If the function leaves no remainder, that simply means ax plus b is a factor of f of x. Leaving no remainder simply means the remainder is 0. And the remainder won't be 0 if what you are dividing f of x by is not a factor of f of x. Find the values of the constants a and b. Factorize f of x completely and state its zeros. First of all, f of x is equal to x cubed minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 6 when we divide it by ax plus b. The quotient is when we divide by ax plus b, the quotient is x squared minus x minus 6, and there is no remainder. Okay, this is a simple one. If you divide f of x by ax plus b, the quotient is x squared minus x minus 6. And you know that this quotient, if you factorize x squared minus x minus 6, is the same as x plus 2 times x minus 3. They said when you divide f of x by, if you divide f of x divided by ax plus b, if you divide it by ax plus b, quotient will be equal to x squared minus x minus 6, which is the same as the product x plus 2 times x minus 3, and there is no remainder, so that means, and the remainder is 0, and the remainder is 0. So what that simply means is that, I'm just writing all of this so that you understand. What that simply means is that f of x, if you divide f of x by ax plus b, the quotient is x squared minus x minus 6, which is the same as, which you can factorize into x plus 2 times x minus 3, and there is no remainder. That means ax plus b is a factor of f of x. So f of x itself will now be the product. That means you now know all the factors of f of x. The first one is ax plus b, the second is x plus 2, and the third is x minus 3. You know that when you get a quotient and that quotient can be factorized, you factorize it, and whatever you get will also be factors of f of x, since the remainder is 0. What am I saying? If you divide f of x by ax plus b and the remainder is 0, that means ax plus b is a factor of f of x. Now the quotient, what you get when you do the division, is x squared minus x plus 6. You know that f of x is a cubic function, so you should have 3 factors. Then you check whether this quotient can be factorized, and in this case we know that the quotient can be factorized into x plus 2 times x minus 3. So that means the 3 factors of f of x are ax plus b, x plus 2, and x minus 3. So that's why I'm going to go this way. That simply means I'm just doing all of this, trying to explain as clearly as possible so that you don't get confused. That means f of x is going to be the same as ax plus b times x plus 2 times x minus 3. These are the factors of f of x. If you multiply these 3 factors, you'll get f of x. So let's go back to the question. That's the idea we need to be able to answer the question. I've seen that quotient, when I divide f of x by ax plus b, the quotient is x squared minus x minus 6, which can be factorized into this, and the remainder is 0. If the remainder is 0, it simply means ax plus b is a factor of f of x. So that simply means f of x is equal to this. I can just bring this up here. That means f of x is equal to the product ax plus b times x plus 2 times x minus 3. And now, what is the f of x? F of x is x cubed minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 6. That means it is equal to, let's expand the right hand side. I already know that x plus 2 times x minus 3 is x squared minus x squared minus x minus 6. So let me do that first. X squared minus x minus 6. Now I can expand the right hand side, and I'm going to get ax cubed minus ax squared minus 6ax. Let me even write it, let me make it clearer. That will be ax cubed minus ax squared minus 6ax plus bx squared minus bx minus 6b. So I can compare coefficients on both sides of the equation to find whatever unknown I need to find. X squared minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 6 is equal to what's on the right hand side. Now, what do I need? The question says I should find this. The question says find the values of the constants a and b. So I want to find a and b. Now, comparing the coefficients of x cubed, I'm just going to say comparing coefficients, comparing the comparing the coefficient of x cube. The coefficient of x cube on the right hand side. Comparing the coefficient of x cube. The coefficient of x cube on the right hand side is a, and on the left hand side it's 1. So that simply means a equals 1. Now what do I do to find b? Comparing the coefficients of x squared. No, to find b, let me just compare the constants. Let's see. Yes, if I compare the constants, I'll get b. Comparing the constants, terms, the constant on the right hand side is minus 6b. The constant is the one that doesn't have any x attached to it. On the right hand side it is minus 6b, so I should say minus 6b. And on the left hand side the constant is plus 6, so minus 6b equals 6. And when you divide through by minus 6, you get b equals minus 1. So that means a equals 1 and b equals minus 1. That answers the first question. Now the second question says factorize f of x completely and state its zeros. To factorize f of x completely, we just write it as a product of all of its factors, and that simply means we already did that, but we just didn't know the values of a and b. So this is what we're just going to write. We're just going to write this and replace a and b with their values. So that means f of x equals ax plus b. Ax plus b will be 1x plus b. That's plus times minus 1, which is minus 1. And that's the same as x minus 1 times, or maybe I should write it that way first. This is the complete factorization of f of x. What we only need to do is to substitute the values of a and b. That's 1x, which is x, plus b plus minus 1, which is minus 1, times x plus 2 times x minus 3. And now to state its zeros, to state the zeros of a polynomial, you need to factorize it completely first. Now let f of x be equal to 0, and that simply means x minus 1 times x plus 2 times x minus 3 equals 0. And that therefore means x equals 1 or x equals minus 2 or x equals 3. And those are the zeros of f of x: 1, minus 2, and 3. And the zero simply means when you put any of these values in f of x, when you substitute any of these values for x in f of x, you are going to get 0. If you put x equals 1, f of x will be 0. If you put x equals minus 2, f of x will be 0. If you put x equals 3, f of x will be 0. That's what makes them the zeros of f of x. And that's it, very, very simply. So you can copy the correction from here and take note of what I did. You don't need to be writing unnecessary notes. Just solve the question. Even if you have to, just write a very short note. Alright, so that's it.